making a living and doing something, still creative. But I mean, there's so many art channels and music channels that would never be possible without the internet, that its mere existence, allows them to think in ways that other generations of musicians and artists couldn't, because they didn't have time lapse fucking video that for people to click on demand and watch a 40-hour drawing be made in 10 minutes or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, as well as, like Joe Rogan famously said, people that have like personality disorders or like full-blown mental illness, undiagnosed or otherwise,
Oh,
uh,
and
I think I think it puts a right. I think it puts a magnifying glass on that shit, man. Like, it turns it into. Um, I mean, there's so little context in just plain words, and most 99.9% of people writing shit on the internet are not authors. Much less are they very well educated in proper fucking grammar and English. So context is lost almost entirely with most interactions on the internet. So even people that have good points to make don't know how to make them, and even if they think they do, I fall victim to this all the time. You think you've got a good point, but the receiving end, they don't have even remotely the same concept of the world as you. So the words you just said that make all the sense in the world to you, you're speaking to a different creature, more or less, or like, much less language barriers. If English is a second language or a third language for some of these people that you end up interacting with, you know again, I just think it's a magnifying glass on us as personalities, good and bad.
yeah,
um
and then what I also find interesting is like in my experience, like I just wanted when I was like 14, I wanted to be on the radio and kind of do like a DJ type talk thing, and I couldn't because at the time, like you know as radio kind of got corporatized, no, there weren't any, you couldn't like hire, even the local radio stations wouldn't like hire me as an intern or whatnot. So I was just some dude who had to figure all this shit out on my own and kind of dicked around with like early podcasting feeds, and I kind of like stumbled through this, but then lo and behold, I taught myself how to do this shit, and like, yeah, I'm not Joe Rogan, levels of famous, but considering that like I've basically done this whole thing like independent, I think I've done pretty damn good for myself. And you know what? I'm still learning how to do this shit, and you know I'm just fucking running with it. So
well, that's something I've actually mentioned to you. I don't know if it was on air or in like a just a personal chat, but um like, I like that you've been doing it for so long, because you're young, Sam. And while you I mean, in the grand scheme of things, to be fair, like, there's not a whole lot of success, quote unquote, that you have to show. I mean, of course, you got Ben Shapiro before Ben Shapiro was popular. You have many notable streams and stuff and things that have happened. But again, in comparison to the Joe Rogan types and the other like super successful podcasters, you haven't necessarily reached that yet. But as I've also said all along, um, certainly on stream, is that I think that you have everything necessary to. Uh, you don't have to be you don't have to be Joe Rogan, man. But to make a living out of it, to do what you're doing now for a living, and I think you're young enough still, and you've been doing it long enough. I think you seem, as much as I know you, which admittedly is not super well, but I think well enough to surmise that you can you'll figure it out. I think.
Well,
I think you'll do great eventually.
well,
You know.
well. Thank you, Apex. Your PayPal transaction will be completed here momentarily. So, thanks for
Don't make me squirt live on stream, man.